Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Grumpy Acres Farm. I am Grumpy G, also known as Garen. Tonight, we're doing the next video in our City Survival 101 series, and it's about communications. But before we get into it, first I want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat. We got Len in here, and No Quarter showed up. If you're in the YouTube chat, go ahead and get in the live chat. That's the chat where you see everything instead of top chat, which is just what YouTube wants you to see. And if you're new here, we got a lot of new subscribers, and I really appreciate you guys showing up if you did. This is an ongoing series that we've got where we talk about urban preparedness topics and the way that they fit into the full spectrum preparedness framework. And like I said, tonight's episode or video is about communication preparedness, staying connected. And we're gonna try something different. StreamYard, I'm sorry, has a beta thing going on where the comments are showing up right there on the side of the screen. We're gonna see how that works tonight. It should be kind of interesting. Rank 2000's in the house. Good day. Mississippi Homestead Journey, glad you could make it here. If you're new and this is your first time in here, get into live chat and go ahead and post something. Let people know where you're from and what you're all about, okay? All right, it is time to move on with the presentation. Okay, here we have a quote from Becca Heller. To keep people hopeful during a crisis, the most helpful thing you can do is give people calm, timely, accurate, informative information delivered in a professional way. This is a true statement. This is 100% true. Now, I have a question for you before we go on. I want you to think about this. If your cell phone service went down right now and stayed down, what's your backup plan? Do you even have one? It's a legitimate question. Go ahead and put something in the live chat and let us know. Just be honest about it. You don't have to give up any OPSEC. All right. First topic at hand. Why communications matter in urban survival. In any crisis, especially one in an urban area, information is life. Whether you're coordinating a family rendezvous point, alerting neighbors to danger, or receiving critical updates from emergency services. Reliable communication can mean the difference between survival and chaos. Despite being densely populated and well-connected, urban areas are highly vulnerable to disruptions. Cyber attacks, EMPs, or off-grid events can render modern communication systems useless. Without a plan, you're left in an informational void. And communication isn't about gadgets. It's about knowledge transfer, coordination, morale, leadership. In the greater sense, during a crisis, you must become the source of stability and clarity in a sea of noise and confusion. If you guys couldn't tell, I'm reading off a script. I'm actually what I'm doing, guys, I'm reading off the chapter in the book I'm writing on communications. This is the beta version, and so again, I'm trying something else new. I'm using this as my script, and hopefully it works, and I'm able to convey more information to you guys. Next topic. So, communication preparedness in the full spectrum preparedness network. In the FSP framework, communication is the connective tissue that binds every other aspect together. Without it, even the most well-stocked supplies, fortified shelters, and detailed plans will quickly fall apart. From coordinating security patrols to tracking medical resources, managing transportation, or sharing critical updates on food, water, and energy, communication ensures that every moving part of your survival strategy works in sync rather than isolation. In urban and suburban environments, it ties closely into security, early warning systems, coordination with neighbors or community watch groups, and reporting criminal or threatening behavior. Medical, calling for assistance, tracking medication availability, or coordinating patient movement in a mass casualty scenario. Transportation, knowing when and where to move, traffic updates, and detour information. And this next one is probably one of the most important: water and food, alerting others to deliveries, disruptions, resource gathering, or organizing, bartering, and mutual aid. And finally, shelter, finding secure locations, coordinating relocation, or security entry points. Every aspect of the FSP framework, security, medical, transportation, food, etc., depends on communication to function properly as a unified whole. In a real crisis, the very networks we rely on can falter or disappear in moments. Knowing how they break down is the first step in keeping your lifeline intact. Let's see, we've got some conversation going on here. No Quarter says, in my truck, I can have battery pack, turn on the CB into CB walkie, also have GRMS built into the truck, and a Baofeng handheld in my bag. That's a good plan there. Talking about plans. Rank says he's tried to be stealthy, even his dogs bark. Okay, I got another question. Well, no, this isn't a question. Hold on, guys. Hang on, I got it. Okay, that's way too small. That one right there is way too small for me. Sometimes definitely need to get my eyes checked. Okay, how urban communications networks are affected during a crisis. In an urban crisis, reliable communication systems are often one of the first systems to fail. The services they provide are also the most devastating to lose, whether it's the result of a power grid failure, cyber attack. The complex networks we all depend on to talk to one another, exchange information, coordinate, and request emergency response can degrade rapidly or collapse completely. Understanding how these systems break down is critical to preparing alternatives, maintaining situational awareness, and staying connected when it matters the most. So the first thing we got to deal with, and probably the most common, is power grid disruption. Cell towers and internet providers and repeater stations often rely on grid electricity. When the power goes down, these services quickly degrade or go offline completely, especially after the backup fails. Even if the phone or internet hardware is intact, it's useless without power to transmit. Next one, systems overload. This is really big in cities. In major cities, a crisis will cause cellular networks to become saturated or overwhelmed as people try to contact loved ones or call for help at the same time. Text messages may be delayed for hours and voice calls drop altogether. The digital noise can overcrowd out even emergency broadcasts. Now, that's a key one to remember in case of an emergency. The voice communications will go down long before the text communications go down. So you need to remember that may be your only way to communicate. The next one that is really critical in cities is damage to infrastructure. Urban settings are more vulnerable to disruptions such as natural disasters, rioting, or terrorist activity, which is that's a big concern these days. Communication nodes and cables may be physically destroyed or vandalized. Fires, flooding, or looting can make repair efforts slow or impossible. We had a case when I was working in downtown Kansas City where they stole the fiber optics right out from underneath us. They were doing construction and some thieves they were stealing copper, but they cut our fiber optics. So we lost all communications with the outside world except for radios. Next one, cyber attacks. 911 centers and other critical infrastructure such as emergency alert systems and public warning alarms can be disabled via hacking. This has been demonstrated on multiple ransomware attacks across the United States. Kansas City, Missouri police just last year, about this time last year, got a ransomware attack that took down their entire information management system. And finally, informational warfare. This is another one that's coming to the forefront recently. Rumors, misinformation, and panic can spread faster than facts. Fake alerts, staged videos, or deep fakes can manipulate public perception and worsen unrest. Okay, guys, by learning how and why communication systems fail, we can plan smarter, stay informed, and avoid being isolated in times of crisis. The key is to prepare before the silence, because in a real emergency, there may be no second chances to connect. All right, let's go to the chat right quick. Let's take a small detour. Go to the chat. Let's see what everybody's saying. Let's see here. Speaking of glasses, oh yeah, No Quarter says she needs to get her glasses too. Len says we had a disaster here in 2020. Most phones and power lines down. Phone, TV, and radio towers destroyed. We got a taste of what we're talking about. Yeah, it's all around. You can't miss it. Hurricane Helene completely destroyed the infrastructure in Eastern Carolina, Western South Carolina, that area. So yeah, it's a real thing. Okay. Next slide. Okay, here's a question for you. How many of you have tried calling during a blackout or a storm, and only to have your call fail or take hours to go through? I have. I've had it happen multiple times. Not just here, but when I was overseas going through hurricanes. You know, it's a real thing. All right, let's go back to that. Next slide. Boom. So now we need to talk about emergency methods of communication in urban environments. You know, because when the normal communication networks go down during an urban crisis, staying informed and connected becomes a matter of survival. Cell towers fail, the internet goes dark, and suddenly the modern world's lifelines vanish. In these moments, having alternative methods of communications is not just helpful, it's essential. Whether you're coordinating with family, your community, or a mutual assistance group, understanding and practicing with these alternative emergency communications tools can keep you one step ahead of chaos. First thing we're going to talk about is Family Radio Service, or FRS, or General Mobile Radio Service, GMRS. These radios are ideal for short-range communications, up to a few miles depending on the terrain. GMRS radios do require a license. It's more like a certification, because you're not taking any tests. You're just paying to use the frequency. But these radios are really inexpensive and easy to obtain. You can go on Amazon and get them at very low cost. They offer more power and channels than FRS radios. They can be critical in neighborhood coordination, search and rescue, or family contact if cell service fails. We use them. We use GMS radios and FRS radios for communication whenever we have our community get-togethers and we invite people in to visit us. The next type of radio is citizens band radios. These are useful for vehicle convoys, trucker updates, or general area monitoring. No license is required, and the range is typically under 5 miles. No Quarter said that she's using the radios like that right now. Next one. Amateur radio, or ham, is highly recommended for serious preppers. It requires licensing and offers vast improvement in capability for local, national, and even global communication. Local ham clubs often coordinate during disasters, and many cities have repeater networks. And if you don't know what a repeater network is, it's a radio that will receive a call, and then it will rebroadcast it out on a slightly different frequency. And it adds, what they do on 2 meters is they put them up really high, and it gives you the one in Edgerton has a footprint of about 182 miles. So it's a great way to extend your reach. The next thing, and these are relatively new, these mesh networks. These work through devices like Gotenna or Meshtastic, which are two of the most popular systems for preppers. They allow off-grid texting between users via mesh radio protocols. They are excellent for group coordination in urban terrain with high population density. They are very redundant. The first time I heard about mesh networks was the insurgents in Iraq started using them in the big cities, and they're very hard to triangulate and take down because there's so many nodes that can be used on it. The next emergency system is signal codes and visual identifiers. These are low-tech solutions in grid-down scenarios. You can use visual or auditory signals, flags, whistles, LED flashers, or signal mirrors on prearranged codes with your groups or neighbors. For example, a red cloth flying from your window means it's danger. Green means it's safe. Next one is field phones. I saw somebody earlier talking about landlines. Field phones are the somewhat equivalent to that. So these can be strung through building and networks. They used to be formerly military-only technology, but field phones are now readily available on the surplus market. You can go on Sportsman's Guide and get East German field phones very, very, very cheaply. They're secure, EMP resistant, and effective when powered systems fail. Yoda wants me to remind everybody that the ham licensing structure just changed. It's you get more privileges with your technical license now than you used to get. All the licenses have just basically opened up one level up, and it's become much easier to use all the functions. Yeah, Homestead Twins, the GMS fee is only $35 and it's good for the whole family. Absolutely. Mississippi Homestead, I have some old field phones, haven't hooked them up yet. You ought to do it. You ought to give it a try, guys. We're going to talk about this later. I'm a firm believer is you got to practice with your gear. Got to practice with your gear. Okay, the next topic is building a communications plan. Oh, you know what? I moved that slide and I wasn't done with it. I started talking. You guys made me chase a squirrel. You didn't make me, but I chased a squirrel with you guys. And look, I left a couple of things out. You know, another emergency off-grid tool is courier systems and runners. These are really manpower intensive, but they're very effective. Trusted individuals passing messages by foot, bicycle, vehicle are essential when no electronics are functioning or if security requires a physical message. Remember, anything that goes across the airwaves can be intercepted, decoded, and read. And finally, the last one. This is about as low-tech as you can get. Bulletin boards and central messaging areas. These are designated locations for updates, grocery stores, gas stations, churches, any place anybody goes to on a regular basis. Paper, whiteboards, or chalkboards can be used as a low-tech method for mass communication. You always see it in the movies. The people go up to the bulletin board that's got all the have you seen this person, have you seen this person. You know, in the end, no single communication method can be counted in every crisis. Redundancy using multiple tools and channels ensures you're never left in the dark. The next step is bringing those elements together into a clear practice communications plan that keeps you connected when things matter. Okay, so we're going to talk about building a communications plan. Hey, Susie. Yeah, you got to tell Greg to take a break from taking care of the cattle and watch us at some point. So, in a crisis, confusion is the enemy and communication is your first line of defense against it. A well-structured communication plan ensures that everyone in your group knows who to contact, how to contact them, what to say once they're contacted. Whether it's a short-term emergency or a prolonged urban collapse, clear communication can reduce panic, prevent misinformation, and keep your people safe and aligned. Okay, now let's talk about what makes up a good communication plan. Oh my goodness, guys. We are ripping through this. We are ripping through this. This is great. First, a solid communications plan, you have to answer 4 key questions. Who needs to be informed? Families, neighbors, mutual assistance groups, coworkers, etc. The next question you need to answer is how will you communicate? You need to choose a primary and a secondary and a tertiary method. So your primary method would be text and cell phones, assuming those are up and running. Secondary method, once those go down, radio. And then your tertiary method is bulletin boards, courier, or things like that, the low-tech off-grid solutions. The next question you have to answer is when and how often will communication be made? You need to set check-in times, say every 12 hours, every 4 hours, whatever your group comes up with. And this is especially important when the situation is unstable, because you never know when you're going to be able to make that call. So if you have a set time, you can get there, and if somebody can't make the call, you know something's up. All right. The fourth question, use predetermined codes or keywords. Avoid long messages. Use clarity over emotion. Got to keep that emotion out. It's just like in the old dragnet, just the facts, man. All right. So a good communication plan will include a contact list with roles and backup contacts, a communication tree or hierarchy, that's who informs who, emergency frequencies and channel, and then rally points and timelines should communications fail completely. And finally, templates for standard messages. Safe, help, relocated. You gotta have a template for all these different messages. Now, one of the key components in a communications plan is the comms coordinator. And let's talk about the role of the comms coordinator for just a second. All right. So in a group setting, we need to assign one person to oversee communications to prevent chaos. The duties might include tracking and logging all incoming and outgoing messages, maintaining equipment and charging cycles, not changing cycles, coordinating frequency and channel changes, relying on only verified and concise information. And as you can tell, that's a pretty important job. And if somebody's not doing it properly, you could run into some real problems. You know, your communications plan is only as strong as your preparation and practice. We need to build it in layers, rehearse with it with your team, and adapt it to the situation or network changes. In high-stress environments, you will not rise to the occasion. You'll fall to the highest level of your training. Remember, we always need to train on our equipment. Always need to train. So here's a tip. Here's a tip for you. Practice the plan regularly. Don't wait until a crisis to test your communications equipment and skills. You need to write that down. Seriously, that is such an important tip. The next one, building a community communications network. In a crisis, no one thrives alone. Building a resilient community communications network can mean the difference between isolation and coordinated action. By connecting households, local groups, and individuals through multiple channels, both digital and analog, you can create a web of support that can share real-time information, respond to threats, and keep morale high when official systems go dark. So here are some of the organizations and resources you can tap into by building a community network. First and foremost, if you're in the city, a neighborhood watch, you need to integrate it with your system. Tie comms into existing neighborhood watches or neighborhood security teams and groups. Assign communications roles like neighborhood, network control, comm coordinator, whatever you want to call it. This is a great way to tie in it. It will increase your security because those radios become force multipliers. The next one, local ham operators. Like every city in America has a local ham radio group. And it's usually a bunch of crusty old men like me that get on there and talk about equipment and who they've talked to across the world. But you need to reach out to these groups before a crisis happens. And many are eager to help. Some may already have emergency repeater access or base station. But all the repeaters that I know of are maintained by these local ham operator groups. All right. And it's a good thing. You also, there's a, what is it? American Radio. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. There's an outfit out of Idaho that runs a national network of comms, and they do daily, weekly, and monthly networks on it to test people's skills and gear. The next one is community bulletin boards and information trees. Like I said before, churches have them. You go 7-Eleven has them, and in the digital age, they've got virtual bulletin boards online if the internet's working. But you want to use these shared message points at common locations and post up-to-date updates at regular intervals. Go post something at 9 a.m. every morning. Go make a post on that bulletin board or social media page at the same time every day. Next one is faith and civic groups. Churches, clubs, and local organizations are natural communications hubs. Assign liaisons to help gather and disseminate trustworthy information. You ought to go up. You ought to go to your local VFW post or American Legion or the Elks Club. You need to go talk to these people beforehand. You go visit them. Yeah, that's the Amron, the Amron, the Redoubt group, Yoda. Yeah, that's the group. It's the Amron. And finally, here's the one. This is a modern thing. This is relatively new in the world of communications. Digital alternatives. Group chats like Zello channels or walkie-talkie apps can be pre-positioned. We use them here in our group as a means to communicate, and consider downloading offload maps when communication protocols with communication protocols in advance. Strong communication builds strong communities, especially when something unexpected strikes. By planning ahead, assigning roles, and leveraging both traditional and modern tools, you create a neighborhood network capable of adapting under pressure. In the end, it's not just about the gear, it's about trust, coordination, and the shared will to endure and overcome. So I saw something, Len posted something here. This all sounds very familiar, maybe even a little like military contingency plan or a business continuity plan. I've been in both many times. Yes, you are 100% correct, Len. Any good preparedness plan has its roots in those more official things, and all you're doing is you're replicating it at a different level. And we're just talking about the communications aspect of it all. But if you go back and you look at the other videos we've done, they all fit into that type of thing. Next slide 11. Oh, we already did that. I went backwards. I'm sorry, guys. So here's a question. Where is it? Here's a question for you. Put a 1 in the chat if the answer is yes. Put a 2 in the chat if you think the answer is no. Do you think your neighborhood would actually work together in a communications network, or would it fall apart? Yes or no? I'm gonna say yes. In our area, we've got a pretty robust communication system. It's a work in progress, but I think we would be okay. So No Quarter doesn't have any confidence in her community. Neither does Mississippi Homestead, Hogs. See, and this is going to be something that we work on in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about building a community so that if we revisit this question a year from now, you're going to be able to put one in the chat. So the next slide. Okay, guys, gonna stop and pay some bills. Gonna stop and pay some bills. Boom, take that off. Gonna add this to the stage. Since we are talking about communications. Oh, I'm sorry, no quarter is a he. Get the pronoun correct. I apologize, no quarter. I misgendered you. I don't know why I thought you were she. I have no idea. It's been a long day. Since we're talking about communications, if you go to our Amazon store, these are we've got in the communications section, we've got things that we use and promote for emergency preparedness. We've got Bofang radios. We've got both the ham radios, the 2 meters, and the GRMS radios. They are very reasonably priced, about what, $22 a piece. And then you've got headsets and microphones. Over here we've got the 2-meter radio that I use here at the house. And then we've got some antennas. You can see the antennas right there. This is all equipment. This is all equipment that is necessary for creating a comprehensive and working communications network. And no quarter is modest too. You see that, guys? No quarter is completely modest. All right. Oh, the other thing we got going on here, let me remove this. The other thing we got going on, I want to remind you guys, we use Starlink. And if you're living in a rural location, or if you're in a city where you think that cable service or phone TV service may go down, Starlink is a great alternative. It's not without its problems, but you can use that link right there. And you know what? Let me okay, I'm gonna hide that. I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna post this in the chat so you guys can use it. They've got a special going on right now where you can get a free 30-day trial, and they waive the installation fee, the installation money. So there it is. There's the link in the chat. All right. All right. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay. Boom. So now we need to talk about the legal and moral communications considerations, what we need to be concerned about from a legal standpoint and a moral standpoint. In an emergency, the way you communicate can have consequences that extend far beyond your immediate circle. Legal requirements apply before a crisis, and moral responsibilities remain during and after one. Whether you're operating a radio, passing along critical alerts, or safeguarding private information, understanding the legal and ethical boundaries of these crisis communications ensures your actions help rather than harm. First thing we need to be concerned about is regulations. GRMS and ham requires licenses. Operating outside of the terms can result in fines even during a crisis. In a grid down or without rule of law situation, enforcement may be lax or non-existent. Ignorance of the law pre-crisis can jeopardize your preps after it passes. Remember, you are responsible for everything that happens during the crisis, and some sort of the rule of law will come back, right? And so you're going to be held accountable. The next one is content responsibility. Spreading misinformation, even unintentionally, can cause harm. Always verify before relaying information, especially if it affects security, supplies, or safety. Surveillance and privacy. Like I said before, assume all non-encrypted digital communications are monitored. That includes phones, emails, and even some radios. Use offline tools, encryption apps, and verbal passwords when necessary. Now, here's something to remember, guys. If you're using a ham radio, it is illegal to send encrypted messages. You cannot use encrypted messages on ham radio. Now, that does not mean you can't use codes. You cannot use some sort of electronic encryption to keep people from listening to your conversation. Duty to warn. This is a big one. If you have information that can save lives, for example, gas leaks, looters approaching, medical help available, you have a moral obligation to share it, even at personal risk. This is one of those things. Different people are going to approach this problem different ways. Excuse me. That you need to keep that in mind. Clear, truthful, and responsible communications is as important as the message itself. By knowing the laws that govern your equipment and its use, protecting sensitive information, and sharing life-saving details when it matters most, you preserve both trust and safety. In a crisis, your words can either calm the storm or feed the chaos. You need to choose wisely. Now, since we're talking about urban crises, there are some aspects of living in an urban area that affect communications in a different way than they do other places. So communicating in an urban crisis comes with its own unique sets of obstacles. Dense construction, high population density, and legal restrictions can all complicate the process of getting a message through when it matters the most. From signal interference caused by concrete and steel to risk of digital surveillance, understanding these challenges ahead of time allows you to adapt your equipment, methods, and messages to keep information flowing under pressure. So first, let's talk about signal interference. Concrete, steel, and glass interfere with line of sight signals. Tall buildings can bounce or absorb signals, reducing range or garbling them. Use repeaters on elevated antennas on rooftops and balconies when possible. There's an effect in a city whenever you send a radio signal out. It will hit a building and it will bounce back in different directions. It'll kind of spread the signal, and you'll get an echo as a radio receives all these separate echoes onto on the frequency you're listening to. It's very interesting. The next thing we need to be concerned about is overcrowding and overuse. The radio spectrum, radio and cell, can become saturated. Establishing communication discipline is key. Keep transmissions short, use call signs or unit numbers, and enforce quiet periods. Designate specific frequencies for specific tasks. Examples: family check-ins, neighborhood watch, medical emergencies, etc. We saw this in effect on 9/11. I don't know if you go back and you do a little research. The cell network and the radio network in Manhattan was overloaded when the attacks happened because everybody was trying to call out at the same time. And then whenever the towers came down, that destroyed a couple of major communications hubs, and it just made things worse. Next one you need to worry about, which is it's much more prevalent in an urban area, is surveillance risks. Cities have far more surveillance infrastructure than rural areas. That includes cameras, Stingray cell interceptors, and passive RF monitoring systems. Use alternative methods or move locations frequency when transmitting sensitive information. The Stingray cell networks is something that they've just started using recently. The law enforcement agencies have, and they use it to track cell phones of bad guys. Well, the bad guys are starting to get this technology too, and so they are able to monitor cell phone frequencies and listen into people's conversations. Next one we have to worry about is legal restrictions. In urban areas, local laws may restrict antenna placement, radio use, or signal encryption, even during emergencies. Check codes before a crisis. Know what you're legally allowed to do. Encryption, while useful for privacy, can violate FCC rules on ham radio bands. It's like I said earlier. Next one, mobility constraints. Tall buildings, traffic jams, and roadblocks can trap people in communication dead ends. Map out known repeater locations or signal hotspots in your city ahead of time. Carry portable antennas or signal boosters if possible. Yes, you can get stuck in a dead end in a city that's surrounded by high-rise buildings, and you may never get a signal out if you're on a radio and the cell system's down. Next one is power reliability. In apartment dwellings or condos, you may not have generator access or solar options. Keep communications gear charged with solar panels, hand cranks, or battery packs. Store pre-written messages in notebooks, dry erase boards, or laminated cards in case electronic communications fail. And finally, the last one. This is really big. The bigger the city, the more this becomes a challenge. Language and accessibility. Diverse urban populations may mean many neighborhoods may not speak English or may have disabilities that limit standard communication. Prepare multilingual materials and consider visual and auditory alternatives, pictograms, signs, colored lights, or vibration-based alerts for the non-seeing people. Urban environments demand more than just right gear. They require creativity, situational awareness, and adaptability. By planning for interference, spectrum crowding, legal limits, and diverse community needs, you can maintain clear, secure, and effective communication even in the most chaotic conditions. In the end, your ability to send and receive reliable information may be the single factor that keeps your team connected and alive. Okay. Lynn says none of these slides applies if you're already in the government. AD in front of your title means you're completely exempt. See everything COVID. It sure if they have, let's see here. Hog says it's sure if they still have them, but after 9/11, Verizon put up wireless payphones all over. They got them all over Manhattan. That's cool. That's a good thing to know. See, this is the type of information that we need to share. All right, I got some homework for you. Let's bring this up. Let's make this full screen. Got some homework for you. I want you to, this week, write down a 3-layer communications plan for your family with a primary, backup, and last resort communications thing. After the video, drop your ideas in the comments, and let's see what everybody comes up with, okay? So final thoughts. So the collapse of communications during the crisis blinds and isolates you in the informational spectrum. In a dense urban environment filled with people, threats, and potential allies, staying connected is survival. Communications preparedness means embracing redundancy, mastering the tools, understanding the psychology, and building ethical, resilient networks. When the grid goes down, your voice and signal might be the only lifeline someone has. All right, that was the end of the presentation, guys. You got any questions before we sign off? We talk about what's coming next week. I hope you take this to heart. Seriously, this is probably, in my opinion, this is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of preparedness in most people's lives. It's very important. And like I said before, there's 2 points to remember. First one, if you don't know how your gear works before a crisis happens, you're not going to be able to learn it on the fly. It's not going to be effective. All right. So you need to learn how this gear works beforehand. I think everybody should get a ham license. If you're worried about being on a government list because you have a ham license, if you didn't know, you can go online and look up anybody's address as long as you've got their call sign. So Mine's KE0NIP. If anybody wants to go look it up, that's perfectly fine with me. It's one of the things. And if you're worried about that because the government is going to come after you, here's what I say to that. If we get to the point where the government is hunting down ham operators or shooting Hellfire missiles at them, we've got a bigger problem than us using ham radios. In fact, if it gets to that point, we should not be using ham radios at all. We should graduate to military gear and be living an entirely different existence. All right. So you're already on a list, and you are exaggerating the threat just so you don't have to get a license. And the second thing is, and this is true with anything, you do not rise to the level. You do not rise to the situation. What you do is you fall to your highest level of training. So if you don't have any training and a crisis happens, you're going to be ineffective. You all that gear you've got, if you haven't trained with it, it's nothing more than a paperweight. So take those two things into consideration. Register at a P.O. box. It's not about the government. It's about creepers not showing up at your door. Well, yep, there's that concern too. One of the things that we discussed before we decided to do our channel the way we did and talk about stuff the way we did is how are we going to handle that? So we've got a plan. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Next week's topic is financial preparedness in an urban environment. And we're going to discuss that. I was just working on it today, and I'm really pleased with it. I'm really pleased with the information. I'm trying to talk Angela. She wants to do it, but she doesn't. She hasn't quite figured out when and how. But I want Angela to do a special live without me in it, talking about her experiences on the financial side with security in the banking industry. It's a very important topic, and I think you guys need to have. So you guys on the next live, you guys need to tell her, get on it, girl. Again, if you want to help the channel, you can go to the Starlink URL and get your 30-day free trial with 0 installation, and that will help the channel. You can go to our affiliate links in the stores down below. You go to the links down below and do that. Help yourself, and you help us in the process. We got a couple of comments. I saw Rose popped in here. So, gee, would the phonetic alphabet be considered to be encrypted code? No, it is not. No, it is not. Encrypted code is using some sort of digital means to digitally encrypt it. Now, with that said, there is a mode in ham operator called digital, but it's not encrypted. Anybody with the proper software can read digital transmissions, but they're specifically concerned about stuff that you need some sort of code breaking software to get to. You can even use one-time. Well, technically, you're not supposed to use one-time codes in regular service, but people do it all the time as tests and practicing skills. No Quarter says creeper showing up the door just means great live practice. You said that, not me. Legal issues really easily avoided. Absolutely. Lynn says I might be able to help in that area depending on what you need. Packet, yep, it's called packet, digital packets. You can use encrypted for a business, but I believe it's a $500 a year fee. Yeah, there's something like that. Most people, it's not worth it, and again, it's not true encryption. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, they for the nuisance of them having to go through the extra step to eavesdrop on you, they charge you an extra $500 a year. Here's something else to remember before we sign off, guys. So, and this is really big in the ham community, not so much in the CB world, but in the ham community, they police themselves. The government does not really get that involved. If you are transmitting improperly or your signal's too strong, they will the local area operators will contact you and tell you what you're doing wrong. Most of the time, not very nicely too. I know this from experience because we were doing a comms check and I had a radio and I wasn't paying attention and I was banging it on my leg and I was hitting the transmit button, and some guy, I don't know who it was, got on there and yelled at me for flooding the network with squelches. So yeah, they self-police. So it's I highly recommend it. Okay, guys, that's the end of the video. Again, homework, comments down below. If you're new here, thank you. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. Beat it like a liberal with a bad argument. And hit that notification bell so you know whenever new videos come out. Next one's going to be our live on Tuesday. Join us. Join us, and we will see you then. And go out and live a life done for you guys. Take care.
Survival isn't just about having the right gear. It's about mindset. In a world without the rule of law, what will you do to survive? WROL isn't just a game. It's a tool to hone your preparedness and survival mindset. Test your instincts. Outthink, outlast, and outmaneuver your opponents in a world that's fallen apart. With WROL, every card you play challenges your thinking, tests your adaptability, and sharpens your ability to make tough decisions under pressure. Whether you are planning for an everyday emergency or prepping for the end of the world, WROL helps you prepare for the chaos of everything in between. Ready to level up your survival skills? Click the link in the description to order your deck of WROL cards today and start building your SHTF mindset. The apocalypse starts here.